بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته وانتهج نهجه إلى يوم الدين تركنا عن محجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك وبعد. So alhamdulillah, after a fairly long hiatus, 3 months or so, we're getting back to our sessions in the Fiqh of Imam Al-Madinah, Sayyidina Malik ibn Anas radiyallahu anhu, and we are reading from Tadrib Al-Salik ila Qira'at Aqrab Al-Masalik fi Madhhab Al-Imam Malik, which is basically a abridgment of an abridgment. So we have been working our way through the acts of worship, and we are on the final act of worship, more or less, which is Hajj, pilgrimage, and we had started it in the previous session. So if you had missed that, I recommend that you watch the previous session. So I'm not going to go into the preliminaries or introduction about Hajj, but we'll get right to the text itself. So in this section he says, رضي الله عنه, فصل في دخول مكة وفي الطواف والسعي وما يتعلق بهما. So here we are looking at when one enters into Mecca and the tawaf, or the circumambulation of the Kaaba, was-sa'i, which is to walk between the hills of As-Safa wal-Marwa in the Haram precinct, and nowadays it's basically enclosed within the masjid. The masjid is quite large, it can take millions of people, and so all of it is kind of in the same area. So the sa'i between the Safa and Marwa, وَمَا يَتَعَلَّقُ بِهِمَا, and what is connected to those things. And so those are basically the main rites of Hajj in Mecca are going to be those two things basically: the tawaf, which is circumambling the Kaaba, and there's different types of tawaf, which we'll see in a second, and also as-sa'i bayna as-Safa wal-Marwa, and to go the sa'i between the Safa and the Marwa. In the Maliki school, it's quite easy in terms of every tawaf you're going to do, there's going to be two things that have to happen afterwards for all of it to be valid. So you have the tawaf, and then you have the 2 rak'ahs that you pray behind Maqam Ibrahim, and then you have the sa'i bayna as-Safa wal-Marwa. So all those three always go together, they're never separated. So whether you're doing something that's in Umrah, or you're doing something that's in Hajj, those things go together. So he says, رضي الله عنه المؤلف وهو الشيخ عبد العزيز بن حمد al-Sheikh Mubarak, and this family is very well known till this day. Still, there's members of this family in Eastern Arabia, and they are the fuqaha, they are the resident Maliki scholars in Eastern Arabia, located mostly in the town of Ihsa. Al-Ihsa, and alhamdulillah, I've met some of them. So he says, يندب عند دخول مكة النزول بذي طوى والاغتسال والدخول من كداء. So he says it is recommended, and we said in the Maliki school, يندب, it's a level less than sunnah. In other words, it's recommended. If you don't get to do this, you don't lose anything in terms of having to redo anything. You will never have to redo something that's merely mandub or recommended. Sometimes the thing that's masnoon, right, if you miss something that's a strong sunnah, you may have to do it over. But if you do it over, it's going to be recommended to do it over. It will never be obligatory. And then if you miss something that is wajib, then you have to do that over. So that's kind of the general principle. So when he says yundabu, it means it's recommended. Yundabu an dukhuli Makkah. So upon entering Makkah, an-nuzulu bidhi tuwa. Which is a place close to Mecca. And in the footnotes here he said right now that place is not an empty place. There's a hospital there, and there's houses there. But back when people were able to do that, Bidhi Tuwa was kind of like an entrance point into Mecca. Why is that recommended to do that? Because this is what the Prophet ﷺ did. وَالْإِغْتِسَالِ, and also upon entering Mecca to make ghusl, right, to do the ghusl. So if you were coming from Medina, for example, you probably already made ghusl in Dhul Hulayfa, which is the miqat over there. So this is also recommended upon entering into Mecca to do so. Nowadays, with the way that Hajj is organized, and that you're part of a group, and so you may have to just go with whatever the group dynamics are, and sometimes this is not always going to be facilitated. So my recommendation for this is to kind of be flexible. We know this is recommended, it's not obligatory. Usually what happens is you'll get to your hotel and they'll take your bags and you may have a few moments up in your room or longer if you're tired. This is the time I would say that you make the ghusl, if you're interested in making the ghusl. And you're still going to be in your ihram. And then after that you can go start your Umrah or your tawaf qudum, right, your preliminary qudum, if you're doing Hajj. So Nuzul Bithi Tuwa, which means to stop in this place just outside of Mecca, which is no longer really there, possible to do that anymore. وَالدُّخُولْ مِنْ كَدَاء, and Kada is a place also. That also is not that easy to stop at. And it's towards the east of the Mas'a, and it's kind of in the direction of the burial place of Sittina Khadija radiallahu anha, fi Maqbarat al-Ma'alla, so up towards that direction. So you'll be coming in and you would be hitting the Bab al-Salam, because Bab al-Salam or Bab Bani Shayba kind of falls right now between the Safa and Marwa. So the door is still there, it's still labeled. Technically, I think you can still enter from that door if you wish to. At least that was the case a few years ago. I'm not sure how it's changed. So that's what he says. ثم يأتي الحرم من باب السلام. So Bab al-Salam, this is the door that also the Prophet ﷺ entered in, and it's also referred to as Bab Bani Shayba. هو مستمر على التلبية إن كان حاجا كما مر. And if you are making Hajj, then you are still doing the talbiyah, which is لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك, until you enter. فيبدأ بطواف القدوم مستحضرا وجوبه. So you begin with something called the Tawaf al-Qudum. This is for the Hajj, right? So this is the Hajj, the one who's making Hajj, either Hajj Ifrad or Hajj Qiran. Hajj Ifrad means you make the intention for Hajj only, and then you may do the Umrah later. Hajj Qiran means you have the intention for both Hajj and Umrah. If you are Hajj Mutamatta', which is most people today actually, at least coming from the West. What's Hajj Tamattu'? Means you go there and you make Umrah first, a full Umrah, and then you do Tahallul, which means you leave your Ihram, and then you stay a number of days in Mecca until you make your Ihram again to go to Mina, Yawm al-Tarwiyah, which is the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. Most Hajj trips, at least that I'm aware of, that originate in the United States or in England, usually that's the route that they go. So you wouldn't call this Tawaf al-Qudum, you would call it Tawaf al-Umrah in this case. But if you are making the intention for Hajj, either Hajj Ifrad, Hajj by itself, which is the preferable or the recommended one in the Maliki school, or Hajj Qiran, which is the preferable one in the Hanafi school, then you would call this Tawaf al-Qudum. So if يبدأ بطواف القدوم, which means the Qudum, قدمت على Mecca, so the preliminary introductory Tawaf, because there's another Tawaf that's going to come later at the end of the Hajj rites, which is Tawaf al-Ifada, which we'll get to. So Tawaf al-Qudum, مستحضرا وجوبه, right? You have to keep in mind the intention, it's obligatory. So the Tahiyyat al-Masjid, or the entering of the Kaaba in general, it's better to do Tawaf than to do the 2 rak'ahs. But you have to have in this particular instance the intention that it is the obligatory Tawaf al-Qudum. In other words, مستحضر النية, knowing that the intention is for Hajj. ويبتدئوه من الحجر, right? And you begin the Tawaf from Al-Hajar al-As'ad or Hajar al-Aswad, which is the black stone, which is in the corner of the Kaaba, the northeast corner of the Kaaba, the black stone. And from there, southeast, sorry, because Rukn al-Yamani is over here southwest. So the southeast corner of the Kaaba, there's going to be a line. When it's very, very crowded, the tawaf, in the sahan, right, which is the downstairs, you may not see that line. You might just see a line of people who are standing there. So kind of begin somewhere before that line, so that you're definitely getting the whole circuit. Because if you begin after that line, you've missed that portion, then technically your tawaf is not valid. So يبتدئ من الحجر والسنة تقبيله في أوله فإن منعه الزحام لمسه بيد أو عود ثم وضعه على فيه بلا تقبيل فإن لم يقدر كبر فقط. So here, what is the recommended thing? وسنة, so this is sunnah, but it's more than recommended. But if you can't do it, there's other things you could do. تقبيله في أوله, which is to kiss the black stone in the beginning. I would say it was inconceivable, probably before this year, that one would be able to do it during Hajj. It's very, very difficult. It's very crowded. We don't know what the Hajj is going to look like this year with the pandemic, but the sunnah remains that one tries to get to the black stone to kiss it. If you're unable to, in other words, don't push and shove and do something haram to do something that is sunnah. So the priority is to not do the haram. So if you're unable to get to it because it's crowded, فإن منعه الزحام, as he says here, لمسه بيد أو عود, then you could touch it with your hand or with a stick. Those two are not that easy either, to get that close. ثم وضعه على فيه, then you put your hand or the stick to your mouth, right? So symbolically. بلا تقبيل, without kissing. فإن لم يقدر كبر فقط. But if you aren't able to, then all you have to do is the takbir, Allahu Akbar. And you don't have to, you'll see some people show with their hand and kiss. That's in other madhahib, in other schools of thought. But in the Maliki school, you just say Allahu Akbar and you continue and begin your tawaf. ويشترط لصحته الطهارة. So also in the Maliki school, it is a condition of validity that you be on tahara. So the same type of tahara you need for prayer, which is two types. Taharat al-hadath wal-khabath. So al-hadath, ritual purity, so you have to be on your wudu. And taharat al-khabath, you can't have anything on your person or on your ihram, or for your woman on your clothes, that's najas, at least with your knowledge. وَسَتْرُ الْعَوْرَةِ, covering of one's nakedness. وَجَعْلُ الْبَيْتِ عَلَى يَسَارِهِ, and the Kaaba is on your left. مع خروج كل البدن عن الحجر والناتئ من أساس الكعبة, what's called the shadr-wan. So to be on your left, and you also notice that the Kaaba is a cubit, it's square, and then over on the north end you will see something called a Hijr Ismail, which is a semicircular elevated platform, more or less tiled, that one can go actually inside there, and you'll see people going inside and praying there. However, the original foundation that Ibrahim alayhi salam built extends beyond that to the Hijr. So you have to go around all of that. Don't cut in between. So technically you're making tawaf in a rectangular pattern because you're going around the Hijr of Ismail. So that is a condition of validity. And most everybody knows that. I haven't seen anyone cut across and thinking that they can do that. So it shouldn't be a problem. So khuruj kull al-badan, so the whole body. Make sure that you don't lean over it into it if you're that close and put an arm inside. The whole body has to be around the Hijr Ismail, that semicircle thing. وَالنَّاتِئْ مِنْ أَسَاسِ الْكَعْبَةِ, and also there's a base to the Kaaba. If you get close enough, you will notice Kaaba is like a wall, and then there's like this base that comes out like that. This is called the shadr-wan, and it's marble, and it comes out. So if you're so close that your shoulder is touching the Kaaba, then your shoulder is above this thing called the shadr-wan, and then you're technically not doing the tawaf properly, because your whole body has to be outside. So some people go and they want to touch the kiswa, which is the black covering, and that's okay. But make sure if you do that, that you're not moving while you're doing that, so that you're moving ahead, and then your shoulder's inside, and you didn't do the tawaf properly, correctly. فمقبل الحجر ينصب قامته بعده ويحسن تقهقره قليلا, for the same reason. So if someone actually gets to the Hajar al-Aswad, the black stone, and you kiss it, then you're over the Shatarwan, which is that protruding platform at the bottom. So he says here that someone who does that, that you should, you kiss and then you stand up and move away a little bit so that your whole body is outside. And it's even better to move back a little bit, so to make sure that your body is completely outside of the Shatarwan. The halat nadira, this is something rare, but it's mentioned in the books. وهو سبعة أشواط متصلة, and it's 7 circuits, 7 continuous, متصلة, 7 continuous circuits around the Kaaba. فإن فصله كثيرا لغير فريضة بطل. If you take a break between the 7 circuits, and not a small break, like a long break, what's a long break? Customarily, what we consider to be a long break, like you stopped and then you said, oh, this is an Instagram moment, and then you take your selfie with the Kaaba, which is very abhorrent, by the way, very offensive. They used to years ago stop people from doing that, not anymore, because it's just become so ubiquitous that everybody's doing it. But let's say you did that, and then you got some comments, and then you're responding back to the comments, and then you put it on your Facebook, and then people are giving you likes, and then you respond back to them, and half an hour passes by. You're like, oh, wait a minute, I have to finish my tawaf. Start from the beginning, right? Because they have to be muttasil, they have to be connected, continuous circuits. What is the only exception? If the fard prayer, like Dhuhr, Asr, and you're there and they make the iqamah, then you stop and pray. Obviously, you're not going to continue, and no one will let you continue anyway. Then, as soon as you finish the prayer, then you continue. ويقطع لها فإذا سلم أكمله مبتدئا من حيث قطع وندب له بدء المنكسر. So, if the prayer is called, then you stop the tawaf, and you don't pray nafil prayer, you don't pray the sunnah prayers, you just pray the fard. So you can continue to make the tawaf until the iqamah is called. And if you can get to and make a complete circuit so that you're stopping around the Hajar al-Aswad, that's better if you're able to do that. If not, it's okay, wherever you stop, and then you continue after that. وإنما يعتد بالشوط من الحجر وإليه ينتهي. And the circuit begins with the Hajar, and it ends with the Hajar, right, with the black stone. So you begin with the black stone, you go around, and you also end with the black stone. ويجب صلاة ركعتين بعده, as we said. You pray 2 rak'ahs. After you finish the 7th circuit, you cross the line for the black stone. Then you have to pray 2 rak'ahs afterwards. Where do you do it? Preferably somewhere behind Maqam Ibrahim, which is going to be to the right of the black stone, right beyond the golden door, which is called Bab al-Multazim. So right after that, you see this kind of circular glass enclosed structure. Inside, if you get to look inside, you see 2 footprints that supposedly, Wallahu A'lam, are of Sayyidina Ibrahim. And then you can pray anywhere behind that. Don't pray in the tawaf. Nowadays, during Hajj, the whole sahan, which is the whole lower area, usually during the Hajj days, all of the people are going to be making tawaf. So you probably have to keep walking until you get to the stairs to the next level, which is still on the first level. Then you pray your 2 rak'ahs there. So if people are making tawaf, then do not insist on praying in that area. You're not supposed to, and if the guards see you, they'll hassle you and give you a hard time, and it's not proper anyway. So you can pray anywhere in the masjid, the 2 rak'ahs. والمشي فيه وفي السعي على القادر. And also, it's obligatory to walk during the tawaf and during the sa'i على القادر, for one who is able to. If you're not able to, right, if you're older or you're infirm or it's just too much for you, then you can do it on a wheelchair, which is probably the other way that people do it. Years ago, and I remember I actually saw this before they had the wheelchairs, they had people carrying, like 2 guys or 4 guys carrying what looked like a like a box, and then people will be sitting in the box, and they'd be going around the Kaaba in that. So if you don't walk and you have the ability to walk, then you will have to do an expiation, which is a fidya, which we'll get to that at the end, which is going to be something like slaughtering a sheep. ويسن للطائف تقبيل الحجر واستلام الركن اليماني في أول شوط وذلك في غيره مندوب. And as we said, for the one making tawaf, to try to kiss the black stone in the beginning. واستلام الركن اليماني. So the rukn al-yamani, which is the corner that points towards Yemen, so that's southwest, and that is, if the black stone is here, then it's over here, and you'll see that it's exposed. So there's like a cutout, and the black kiswa, the black covering, is not covering it. So if you can make it over there, that's easier to get to than the black stone, but during Hajj days, still not quite easy. But if you can get to it and touch it, this is what we call istilam. فهذا مندوب في أول شوط. So it's sunnah in the first circuit, and mandub merely recommended in the ones after that. ويسن الرمل للذكر المحرم من الميقات ولمن أحرم من دونه mandub. And it's sunnah for the male who made the ihram from the miqat, not from Mecca. So you're coming from Medina, or you're coming from some other country, to do al-ramal. Ramal means to not run, but to kind of have a faster pace than walking. So a little bit faster than walking in the first three circuits. Again, when it's very crowded, that may not be easy to do. So if you can do it, you can do it. If not, don't worry about it. And it's mandub and recommended for everybody else. So if you're doing like a second Umrah, or you live in Mecca or something like that, and you're doing ihram from there, then it's only recommended and not sunnah for you to do the ramil, which is the faster pace. ويسن بعد الركعتين تقبيل الحجر عند الخروج للسعي. And it's also sunnah to, after you pray the two rak'ahs, to kiss the black stone again before you go on to the sa'i in the Safa and Marwa, if you can. وإنما يبتدئ فيه بالصفا وبالوقوف على المروة يكمل الشوط فالرجوع منها إليه شوط آخر وهلم جرا حتى يتم السبعة. So like the tawaf, the sa'i, it's not circular. It's going back and forth between the Safa and Marwa, and you begin with the Safa hill, and that will be clearly marked, and you'll see that there's like a ramp that has some tile on it, graded tile on it, and then at the end there's kind of a makeshift, not a makeshift, but a sana'i, artificial covering rock, which I think is covered by glass now, you can't even get to it. But up on that ramp area, that's where you begin the Safa. The sa'i with the hill of the Safa. And there are three levels now, so during Hajj you may be able to do it on the first level or the second or the third. And then you go and proceed on to the Marwa, and it's probably, I would say, maybe 300 to 400 meters at least from one to the other. And you're going to do this 7 times. So from Safa to Marwa is 1, then back this way is 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7. So you end up finishing at the Marwa. فالرجوع منها إليه شوط آخر. So going and then coming back is, so that's 1 and 2. And then 2 you finish the 7. ولا يصح إلا بعد طواف صحيح. Right? And as we said in the Maliki school, there's no sa'i except after tawaf and the 2 rak'ahs. That's the third thing that goes with it. ويجب أن يكون بعد واجب كما يجب تقديمه بعد طواف القدوم لمن عليه قدوم. فإن منع من القدوم مانع كضيق وقت أو حيد أخره بعد الإفاضة. So he says here, وَيَجِبُ أَنْ يَكُونَ بَعْدَ وَاجِب, right? It comes after something that is wajib. So whether it's an Umrah, so you have to do tawaf for Umrah, that's wajib, it's obligatory. Or you're doing Hajj al-Qudum, when you first enter into Hajj, that's wajib. And the other tawaf is tawaf al-Ifada, which you do at the end. Also you're going to do sa'i. So those are all wajib, those are all obligatory. So you have to do it after that. كَمَا يَجِبُ تَقْدِيمُهُ بَعْدَ طَوَافِ الْقُدُومِ. Right? And if you do tawaf al-Qudum and you're doing the intention of Hajj by itself or Hajj with Umrah together, then you have to do the sa'i in the beginning, not at the end. So you're going to do it twice. However, فإن منع من القدوم مانع. If something prevents you from doing the طواف القدوم, right, مانع. قضيق وقت, like shortness of time. Let's say you get to Mecca late and you have to get to Arafah, which is the 9th, and you have to get there some part of the day and some part of the night. And if you get busy with the tawaf, you're not going to be able to make it, then you can go straight to Arafah. You don't have to do tawaf al-qudum. أو حيض, or a woman who is menstruating, she doesn't do the tawaf. So she's going to do it later, inshallah. أخره بعد الإفاضة. Then you do the sa'i, then you do the Safa and Marwa after the ifada, which we're going to get to. ويسن الإسراع بين الميلين الأخضرين. And just like in Tawaf there's like a faster pace, you will also find in the Safa and Marwa there's going to be these two green lights, and in between them you should move at a faster pace, and faster than al-ramal. They call this harwala. So you're kind of moving even a little bit faster than you would in the circuits in Tawaf. And this is easier to do because it's very big and wide. So most people are able to do that. Some people sprint. It's not a sprint. It's not running. But faster. Just like Sittina Hajar did. This is the symbolism behind it. When she went between the Safa and Marwa for our father Ismail alayhi salam. ويندب فيه الطهارتان وستر العورة. And it's recommended to have the taharatan, the two tahara, so al-hadath wal-khabath, so ritual purity and purity of clothing. Yundabu. So that means, let's say you lose your wudu after the tawaf, you finished it, bathroom's far away, you're with the group, what do? You can do the sa'i, the Safa and Marwa, without wudu. And it counts in the Maliki school. It's better to have wudu, obviously, but if you're unable to do that, then it's only recommended and it's not a condition of validity. وبعده يحلق المعتمر أو يقصر كمن تأخر سعيه عن القدوم. So after you do the halq, after you do the, if you're mu'tamir, if you're making umrah, after you do the Safa and Marwa, then you're basically done, and then you do the tahallul. And in the umrah, tahallul, which means leaving the state of ihram, is to shave one's head for a man, or cut one's hair for a man or a woman. And in the Maliki school, they say the cutting of the hair should be all of the hairs of the head. So they say like a fingernail's worth, fingernail length. But to cut all of the hair. Other schools of thought allow you to do just like a couple of hairs here and there. You could follow that. But the Maliki school stipulates either to shave the whole head for the man, or to cut all of the hairs of the head, and the same for the woman, to cut all the hairs of the head, but only a little bit. Wallahu a'lam. So now we'll move on to فصل في الوقوف بعرفة وما يتعلق به. So standing at Arafah and everything that is connected with that. He says يندب الخروج لمنى يوم التروية وهو الثامن بحيث تدرك صلاة الظهر فيها. So if you are doing Hajj Ifrad or Hajj Qiran and you've done your sa'i, then you're still going to be in your ihram. And you will remain that way until the end, which is the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. If you're mu'tamir, you did Umrah and now you're back in your regular clothes, then on the morning of the 8th, you're going to don the ihram once again to go to Mina. Right? And Mina is a few kilometers away from Mecca. And this is called Yawm al-Tarwiyah, right? This is the day of leaving that everyone goes to Mina, the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. بحيث تدرك صلاة الظهر فيها. And you leave sometime in the morning after the shuruq, after sunrise, so you want to be there before dhuhr to get to arrive to Mina. فيحرم المقيم بمكة والمتمتع في مكة والأفضل إيقاعه بالمسجد الحرام وأما المفرد والقارن فعلى إحرامهما, as we said. So the one who lives in Mecca, in other words, you're a resident of Mecca, you live there, then and you're going to make Hajj, then your ihram is going to be in Mecca from Mecca. And the same for the mutamatти', someone who did tamattu' and did Umrah and left the ihram. والأفضل, and the best way, or the preferable way, إيقاعه بالمسجد الحرام, to do the intention from the Masjid al-Haram. So you go pray your 2 rak'ahs in Masjid al-Haram and then move on from there. Sometimes that's not easy to do because everybody's trying to do that and it's a big kind of push to leave. So if you do it in your hotel room, that's okay as well. But preferably to do it في المسجد الحرام. وَأَمَّا الْمُفْرِدُ وَالْقَارِنُ فَعَلَى إِحْرَامِهِمَا, as we said. So the mufrid and the qarin, they are still in their ihram, so they're not doing it over again. وَالصَّلَاةُ بِمِنَى لِغَيْرِ أَهْلِهَا تُقْصَرُ كَعَرَفَةَ وَمُزْدَلِفَةَ. When you get to Mina, the sunnah is to pray qasr, which is to pray the traveler's prayer. So 2 rak'ahs for dhuhr and 2 rak'ahs for asr, except for the people who actually live in Mina. If you live in Mecca, even though it's less than traveler distance, then you're also going to pray qasr. But if you actually live in Mina, then you would pray the full 4 and 4. And the same thing for Arafah and Muzdalifah. So when you get to Arafah, you're also going to pray qasr and dhuhr and asr. And when you get to Muzdalifah at night, you'll pray Maghrib and Isha. Isha will be qasr, 2 rak'ahs. Except if you live in Muzdalifah or if you live in Arafah, then you pray the full. ويستحب المبيت فيها والسير بعد طلوع الشمس والنزول بنمرة قرب مسجدها المعروف. And it's recommended to spend the night there in Mina, which is the 8th. والسير بعد طلوع الشمس. And then on the morning of the 9th, after sunrise, you make your way towards Arafah. والنزول بنمرة. So Namira is a place in Mina. There's a large mosque there now called Masjid Namira. And usually this is where you can pray Dhuhr and Asr, but to stop there. قرب مسجدها المعروف. So in Nuzul, which means to be there, but you will be assigned a particular tent or area depending upon your group, somewhere in Mina where you'll be. And then after that, you also have an assignment in Arafah, so basically that's where you're going to have to be. ويتأدى الركن بالحضور فيها جزءا من ليلة النحر ولو مرورا. So in the Maliki school, unlike the other schools, the rukn, and we talked about rukn and wajib before, but rukn means that which is an essential aspect of Hajj. You can't miss it. If you miss it, you can't make it up. And you can't expiate it by slaughtering an animal. You've missed Hajj basically. So what is the essential rukn part of Hajj in terms of Arafah? To spend some moment after Maghrib in Arafah. So not the day. The day is wajib. But the rukn, the essential aspect, is some moment after Maghrib. The Shafi'is say, or during the day or after Maghrib. So for the Malikis, this is important. Why? Because you will find that people, as soon as, even sometimes before Maghrib, they start to leave. And if you want to follow, and this I would be a stickler about a little bit, and tell the group, look, I want to wait till Maghrib comes in, even for a minute, and I'm still here, and then I'll leave. Because this is a rukn, this is an essential thing in the Maliki school, to remain even a moment after Maghrib, while staying during the day is wajib. So that's why he says, وَيَتَأَدَّى الرُّكْنُ بِالْحُضُورِ فِيهَا جُزْءًا مِنْ لَيْلَةِ النَّحْرِ. So some moment after Maghrib. وَلَوْ مُرُورًا, right? Even if you're just passing through, but this is a rukn, this is the essential. وَالطُّمَأْنِينَ وَاجِبَةً. But to be still in that moment after Maghrib, tuma'nina, like in the prayer, it's obligatory. So they say stillness like between the 2 sajdatain, between the 2 prostrations. And look how you're still in that. Just still for a moment. So that means if you're like in a car and driving through and you're never still, it's problematic. كَالْوُقُوفِ نَهَارًا بَعْدَ الزَّوَالِ. Like standing. Wuquf doesn't mean standing, but it means being in Arafah during the day. So being in Arafah during the day is wajib. If you don't do it, you have to expiate. But being in Arafah for a moment after Maghrib, even passing through, is essential. Rukn. And then the wajib also is tuma'nina, to be still there for a moment before leaving. Another thing to be careful about in Arafah, Arafah is a big plain, but in the section that overlaps or that connects to Mina, or close to, or Muzdalifah, there's a part of the Masjid Namira, that is still not in Arafah. And there's a line inside the mosque that shows you that. But some people don't realize that. So you may be sitting in part of the masjid and you're actually not in Arafah. Make sure you're in the precincts, in the confines of Arafah. And leave sometime after Maghrib. You're not going to pray Maghrib in Arafah. The sunnah is to pray Maghrib and Isha in Muzdalifah, which is the next place you're going to. which we'll get to in a second. So then he says, وَصَلَاةُ الظُّهْرَيْنِ قَصْرًا وَجَمْعًا جَمَاعَةً مِنَ الْأَمْرِ المعروف ويسن خطبتان قبلها يعلم الخطيب الناس ما عليهم من المناسك ثم أذن وأقيم وهو جالس على المنبر. So in Arafah, in Masjid Namira, the Imam there, you pray Dhuhr and Asr, Qasran wa Jam'an, so 2 and 2, and together. And then the Imam there is going to give a small khutbah, small sermon about Manasik al-Hajj, about what to do during Hajj and so forth. And it's okay to be there, to present. It's not obligatory, but it's okay to be there. يعلم الخطيب الناس ما عليهم من المناسك. He teaches them what they have to do from the rites of Hajj. ثم أذن وأقيم وهو جالس على المنبر. And then the adhan, and then the iqama, and then they pray. So the khutbah first, and then the prayers after. فإذا زالت الشمس اغتسل وتوجه إلى المسجد فإن عاقق أمر فصليهما في محلك قصرا وجمعا. So if you can go to the masjid after zawal, fine. If not, then you can pray wherever you are in Arafah, the Dhuhr and Asr. ويندب الوقوف بجبل الرحمة. And it is recommended, if you can, to stand some part of the day by Jabal al-Rahmah, the mountain of mercy. Some people go up the mountain. That's not part of the recommended thing. Al-Wuquf bi Jabal al-Rahmah is just to be there in that area next to it. And there is some riwayat that Jabal al-Rahmah is where Adam and Hawa, when they came down from paradise, this is where they landed. And this is where they got to know one another. That's why it's called Arafat, to know. So this is where they got to know one another. Wallahu a'lam. وَالْأَفْضَلُ الرُّكُوبُ ثُمَّ الْقِيَامُ. So in the Maliki school, actually in Arafat, it's better to be on a mount, like a camel or a horse, than to stand. This was what the Prophet ﷺ did, especially if you're going to be there all day. Not like a chair, but on a mounted animal. If you can, most people nowadays, they stand some and they sit some. So that's probably the best way to do it. Alternate between standing and sitting. If you need to take a small nap, that's okay too. It's a long day. وَلْيُكْثِرْ مِنَ الدُّعَاءِ وَالتَّضَرُّعِ. And to have a lot of dua, and tadarru' means turning towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلْيَطْمَئِنَّ بَعْدَ الْغُرُوبِ, as we said, and after Maghrib, make sure you stay just a little bit. طُمَأْنِينَ, stillness, even for a moment. ثُمَّ لِيَدْفَعْ مُؤَخِّرًا لِلْعِشَاءَيْنِ إِلَى الْمُزْدَلِفَةِ. So then you start to move after that, sometime after Maghrib, towards Muzdalifah, where you're going to pray the 2 Isha, which is Maghrib and Isha, in Al-Muzdalifah. وَالنُّزُولُ بِهَا وَاجِبٌ. So to stop in Muzdalifah is wajib. You could go straight to Mina and circumvent it, but the wajib, in other words, if you don't do it, you have to expiate. So go to Muzdalifah first. وَالْمَبِيتُ بِهَا سُنَّةٌ. And spending the night there is sunnah, which means to stay there till Fajr. وَلَا بَأْسْ بِتَقْدِيمِ الثِّقَلِ آخِرِ اللَّيْلِ. And so Mabit is sunnah, and there's nothing wrong with not sure what he means by that. Yeah, I don't know what he means by that. And muhim, so to spend the night is sunnah, and then to move after that. والسنة الارتحال بعد الصبح, as we said. The sunnah is to leave after praying Fajr in the beginning of the time in Muzdalifah. والوقوف بمشعر الحرام. So between Muzdalifah and Mina, there's this place called the Mash'ar al-Haram. I believe there's a mosque there now too. And just to stop there for dua. ويندب استكثاره من الدعاء مستقبل القبلة مثنيا على الله عز وجل إلى الإسفار and to stay there until al-isfar, which means not until sunrise, but until it gets a little bit light out, which precedes the actual sunrise. This is أين المشعر الحرام. ثم يتوجه لمنى واليسرع ببطن محسر. Then you turn towards Mina, and to go a little bit faster in this place called Wadi Muhassir, and it's actually a valley between two mountains if you walk it. And one narration says that this is where Ashab al-Fil were, that the people of the elephant, they came through here, even though some of the mashayikh dispute that. Allahu A'lam, which is true, but the sunnah is to hasten in this area and not to dwell. ويرمي العقبة بسبع حصيات حين وصوله. And then when you get to Mina, you're going to go to a place called the Jamrat al-Aqaba, which is the biggest Jamra, and throw 7 pebbles. And he didn't mention it here, but these pebbles you should have collected in Al-Muzdalifah. So to collect the pebbles in Muzdalifah, and you're not going to collect 7, but you're going to collect 7 plus 21 times 3. And I'll explain why 21 times 3, because at the end, you're going to spend time in Mina and throw the 3 jamarat. So the 3 stone edifices, now they're actually big walls. Each one of those 3 you're going to throw 7. And if you stay the 3 days, so that's 21 each day. And for 3 days, 21 times 3, which is 63, plus 7, 70. وَنُضِبَ لَقْطُهَا مِنْ مُزْدَلِفَةٍ, he says it, فَيُكَبِّرُ عَنْدَ كُلِّ رَمْيِ حَصَاتٍ. And it's recommended to pick them up, the pebbles from Muzdalifah. If you forget, you can still get them from Mina. But don't get them from the place where people already threw. Don't use used pebbles, in other words. Take the pebbles from somewhere else. How big should these pebbles be? They said like a pea size. So something that you can fit between your index finger and your thumb. Not a rock, not a boulder, not something that you need to get a crane to log around, but something small, right? And when you actually throw, it's something like this. You know, not that you're trying out for the Yankees and you throw your arm out, and not with slippers. You'll find people throwing slippers and people throwing like, you know, cursing shaitan and things like this. But no, we just say Allahu Akbar. Every hasa, Allahu Akbar. So take 1, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. 7. ثم ينحر ما معه من الهدي ثم يحلق ثم يفض. And then the preferred order is to then slaughter. Some people I think still actually able to do this. They bring their animal with them, which is called al-hadi, which can be a camel or it can be a sheep or a goat or a cow. But most people today do it by tawqil, which is you deputize someone else, you pay basically a ticket, and then it's taken care of for you on the day. And that's probably more efficient. If 3 million people are trying to slaughter animals all at once in Mina or Mecca, it would be quite the spectacle. So assume that gets done, then you are going to do the halq, right, which is the shaving of the head or cutting of the hair. Then you do tawaf al-ifada. So you can do the halq or the cutting of the hair in Mina, or you can wait till you get to Mecca. But in Mecca, the last thing you're going to do is tawaf al-ifada, right, which is the last tawaf. Ifada, ifada means the one that people go out in droves, right? Yufiduna ala Mecca. So, call it the tawaf of the droves, right? Versus tawaf al-qudum, which is the preliminary tawaf when you get there to begin with. وبفراغ من الطواف يحصل التحلل الأكبر. And then when you finish the tawaf al-ifada, this is called tahallul akbar. Basically, you're done with your ihram. So now you can wear regular clothes, you can do all the other things you couldn't do in terms of intimate relations and all that sort of thing before. Now you're allowed to do it. إن كان قد حلق وقدم سعيه وأما التحلل الأصغر هو من كل شيء إلا النساء والصيد فيحصل بعد رمي العقبة. So this tahallul akbar happens if you had already shaved your head or cut your hair, and you did the tawaf and the sa'i. So all of that is tahallul akbar. Amma tahallul al-asghar, or the minor tahallul, the minor departure from ihram. هو من كل شيء إلا النساء والصيد. So everything except intimate relationships and hunting you're allowed to do. فيحصل بعد رمي العقبة. Right? This happens when is tahallul al-asghar, after you do rami al-aqaba. So after you do the rami, the throwing of the rocks on the morning of Eid, then you've done tahallul al-asghar. Right? You could leave the ihram, but not those other things we said. فإذا أفاض ولم يكن سعى قبل سعى وحلق حينئذ ثم رجع وجوبا إلى منى. So then if you do the ifada but you didn't do the sa'i before, like we said earlier, the sa'i with the tawaf al-qudum, sa'a, now you have to do it. وحلق حينئذ, and then you are to cut your hair or to shave after that, if you didn't do the sa'i at the beginning. ثم رجع وجوبا إلى منى, then you return back to Mina. Everyone goes back to Mina after this, because you're going to spend the next 2 or 3 days and nights there in Mina, wujuban. This is the obligatory part. ويجب المبيت بها فوق العقبة ليلتين إن تعجل. So you have to spend 2 nights at least in Mina, short of the Aqaba, because every day you're going to go throw at the Jamrat al-Aqaba, which is the last wall or the last edifice to throw rocks at. والثلاث أفضل, but to spend the 3 days and nights is better, but some people stay only 2, that's okay. وهو بالخيار ما لم تغرب الشمس عليه قبل أن ينحدر من العقبة, and you have the choice as long as Maghrib doesn't set on the second night. So if Maghrib comes in, then you started into the third day or third night, then you have to stay. So you have to leave before Maghrib on the second day. وإلا وجب عليه مبيت الثالثة, otherwise you have to stay. والرمي من الغد, and throw the next day. وشرطه وقوعه بعد الزوال والترتيب, and the condition is that it's after zawal, after dhuhr time. فيبدأ بالخيف ويختم بالعقبة وتفريض رمي الحصيات وقوعها في الجمرة إلا أن تجاوزتها أو وقعت دونها وليس المراد إصابة البناء بل الحوض والبناء. So the condition is that it's after zawal and you do it in the proper order. So there's 3. So you begin with the smallest one, they're all the same size, but you begin with the first one coming from Mina, then the second and the third. Right now they're big walls basically. والترتيب فيبدأ بالخيف, right, which is towards the one that's towards Masjid al-Khayf. ويختم بالعقبة, and the Aqaba is the last one, the same one that you threw out the night before. وتفريض رمي الحصيات, so you have to throw each rock by itself. Don't put 7 in one hand and say 7 all at once and say I'm done. No, one at a time. ووقوعها في الجمرة, and it has to fall into the jamrah, into the edifice. What does that mean? Not to throw above it or over it. You have to have a pretty good arm to do that, number one. I don't think you'll be able to do that. أو وقعت دونها, or if it falls somewhere below it. But it has to be either hitting the wall or in the hawd, which is the frame or the lower wall around it, which is quite big. So hit the wall or at least make it fall into the structure around it. ويجب أن يكون هو الرامي بنفسه, and you should throw your own self. إن عجز كلمرض استناب وأهدى ويتحرى رمي النائب. So usually it's obligatory for you to throw yourself, but if you're unable to or you're sick, and years ago the most dangerous part of Hajj was this part, which was the throwing the 3 days in Mina. And when you heard about stampedes and things like that, it happened in that time. And it used to be chaotic because people were coming in 2 different directions. And it was such a huge amount of people that there were people going in, people coming out, and this is how it happened. Nowadays it's much, much more easy and organized, and traffic flows in one direction. And we can go by the fatwa of many of the ulama who say it could be during the night as well, and even the Malikiyah say if you're making it up, you can do it at night. It doesn't have to be during the day. So we can take these fatwa and to facilitate. But even then, if you have fear, if it's like a older parent or someone you don't want them to go to throw and it's taxing, then they can do istinaba, which is they assign someone else, like yourself. So you might throw for yourself and someone else. In that case, they would have to do al-hadi or expiate, which is to slaughter an animal. But that's allowed. ويكبر لكل حصاة, as we said, every pebble you're going to make takbir. ويجزئ المتنجس وما وقف في شقوق البناء. And it's permissible to use something if it had some najasa on it, or something that was coming out from the shuquq al-bina, like the cracks in a wall, and you took the pebbles out of that, that's okay. But it has to be pebbles. It can't be like bone or animal excrement or anything like that. It has to be pebbles. ويكره الكبير والصغير, right? And it's disliked to be very big or to be very small, but something, as I said, like a pea size. وما كان قدر الحمص لا يجزئ. But if it's too small, like a chickpea, which is really small, no. But something a little bigger than that. وندب وقوفه عند الأوليين جاعلا لهما خلفه مع تياسر في الثانية والدعاء قدر قراءة المسرع بالبقرة مستقبلا للبيت. And it is recommended to stand in the first two aqaba, the first two edifices that you're throwing, after you throw, جَعَلْ لَهُمَا خَلْفَهُ, right? So you're moving from one to the next. مَعْ تِيَاسٌ فِي الثَّانِيَةِ, and a little bit towards the left after you throw the second one. وَدُعَاءُ قَدْرِ قِرَاءَةِ الْمُسْرِعِ بِالْبَقَرَةِ مُسْتَقْبِلًا لِلْبَيْتِ. And to read or have dua as long as it takes for someone to read Al-Baqarah fast, which you don't have to do that. If you can, this was obviously the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, مُسْتَقْبِلًا لِلْبَيْتِ, but trying to face the Kaaba, because if you face towards the direction of the last aqaba, you're facing towards the Kaaba. So a dua, as بقدر المستطاع, as much as you can do. ونزول غير المتعجل بالمحصب إذا رجع لمكة بعد رمي الرابع فيصلي من الظهر إلى العشاء. And there's this place called Al-Muhassab, so someone who's not muta'ajjil, but the one who does the 3 days, to stop there on your way towards Mecca after you do the Ramy al-Rabi', right, the 4th day of throwing, because you have the day of Eid and then the 3 days after that, Ayyam al-Tashriq. فَيُصَلِّ مِنَ الظُّهْرِ إِلَى الْعِشَاءِ, to stay in this place, as the Prophet ﷺ stayed in this place called Al-Muhassab, and then pray from Dhuhr to Isha. وَالْمَبِيتُ لَيْلَتَيْنِ بِمِنَى لِلْمُتَعَجِّلِ وَثَلَاثٍ لِغَيْرِهِ وَاجِبٌ. And to spend 2 nights in Mina for the muta'ajjil, for the one who's only spending 2 nights, is obligatory. وَثَلَاثٍ لِغَيْرِهِ وَاجِبٌ. And someone who's not in a rush, to do the 3. فَمَنْ تَرَكَ جُلَّ لَيْلَةٍ أَهْدَى. So if you don't spend most of the night in Mina on these nights, then you have to slaughter an animal. You have to expiate. ورخص لراعي الإبل بعد رمي العقبة إلى أن يحضر في اليوم الثالث فيرمي للثاني وله. And there's a dispensation for someone who's a camel herder after he throws the first aqaba, the first day of Eid, إلى أن يحضر في اليوم الثالث فيرمي للثاني وله. So he could do it in 1 day instead of the 3 days. وطواف الوداع مندوب. The other type of tawaf we didn't mention, which is technically not part of Hajj, it's called tawaf al-wida', the farewell tawaf, and this is the last thing you do before you leave Mecca, is mandub, it's recommended. ويبطل بالمكث في مكة بعده إلا لشغل حدث قدر ساعة فدون. So tawaf al-wida' is the last thing. So that means like you do tawaf al-wida', and then if you need to stay to settle your hotel bill or something like that, that's fine. But if you're going to stay a whole day or night after that, then you should do tawaf al-wida' again. ويتأدى بطواف الإفاضة والعمرة إذا نوى نيابتهما عنه والله أعلم. But if the tawaf al-Ifada or the tawaf of the Umrah is the last thing you're going to do, and you're going to leave right after that, then you don't have to do tawaf al-Wida' if you have the intention for that. So I think we will stop here. He didn't mention, but in Sharh al-Saghir or Aqrab al-Masalik, Imam al-Tadrib, he mentions visiting the tomb of the Prophet ﷺ is also recommended, highly recommended for someone who's making Hajj or Umrah, to go to Al-Madinah and intend therein the visitation of the Prophet ﷺ, and perhaps in another session we can talk about some of the adab or etiquette that go with that, inshallah ta'ala. So we'll stop here, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.